What's up, everybody? Jeff from Tropic Vibration here. I've been wanting to go over a studio production for a little bit of time here, and I've never quite gotten around to it, so finally here we are. And we're going to be looking at Stick Figures' Breathe today, which is a song we cover with the band, but I think this one will give you some insight into like what Stick Figure is actually doing in the studio a little bit. This is not meant to be a exact reproduction. This is just more of a because that I mean you could work on this for many more months actually, but Stick Figure's style is not an easy one to copy, and I've yet to see a video out there that really gets into it. So I thought I'd be the first. I've studied this a lot, and I think I've picked up a few little tricks here and there. But without further ado, let's listen to the whole song. Well, there you have it. That's Stick Figures Breathe in Tropic Vibration version here. But first of all, what is a stick figure sound? Like what is he doing in the studio? So this is something that I had to find out, and basically, what you're getting is a lot of layering. A bass, that fat bass, the first thing that kind of pops out in this song is really like literally 5 layers of sounds. We got a bass, sub bass, we got some plucks over top of that, and that's really like a reggae traditional kind of thing. That guitar pluck to match the bass line of a song. That's really done. Scott's taken that to like another level in bringing this. You've got the fat deepness of the bass all the way down to 40 hertz or whatever, and it's kicking way up into the probably the high mid range sometimes. The style too is really layering, taking electronic sounds from synthesizers. It's not necessarily real instruments. A lot of it. There's a lot of just studio production involved, and I would say as a general guideline, you've got this fat layered bass with that goes right up to the mids. You've got a nice, pretty dry skank usually, and again, that's probably layered maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of different sounds sometimes, just depending on what's going on. Then you've got that bubble. That's we'll get into that and how to get a really good bubble sound as well. And then a lot of it is you're taking like kind of a lead part, and you're really adding a lot of atmosphere and dimension with that by putting some big reverbs on there. I love the style of a medium slow song with a maybe a busier beat, and this is kind of what I love about reggae. You've got this bubble, this skank, and it really feels like it's moving along, even though it's like a slower tempo. But then you take this big verby lead, whether it's a vocal or a piano sample, and it kind of puts that kind of in the back and just creates this really. It's usually not a really busy sound either, and it's more like slow soaring vocals. I've always loved the guitar where you take one note and you're just wah, and it just, to me, that has such a greater impact than going wah 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 wah. Like, I get, like, to me, music is not about always showing what you can do. It's about simplifying, and I've always loved that in any of the music I've listened to. And when I first heard Stick Figure, it was like, yes, that's how a song should go. It's just the that mix of slow and fast and really dry skanks and big airy vocals and leads. It's magic to me. All right, so the first thing I do is just load up the original track from Stick Figure here. I bring the level down to about -17 probably, just so that when I start recreating things, I can it approximately matches the levels we're at. Let's get into it. So the kick drum. So one of the things Scott uses a lot is Reason software. And this is a plugin for, I'm using Logic here, by the way, with Reason as one of the main sound sources. I know he mixed, if you ever look at some of his social media, you can see Reason in the background on a lot of his tracks. And I think he even did like Smoking Love right completely within Reason. And Reason really isn't well known as a DAW in itself. It is a DAW, but it's more of a kind of like a virtual keyboard for your computer, and I highly recommend it. I've used this for years, long before I ever even really dug into Stick Figure. But there's a lot of I know he uses it, so it's not a stretch to think that some of the sounds that he uses in his songs are already in here because he uses it a ton. Anyways, let's get into the drum. So what I've got here is a kick drum. This is a kick, just a stock Kong kit, and let me see here. So this is the sound of this kick. Basically, this sample is just one of the thousands that come with Reason, and all you do is I just went through the entire Breathe song here, and every time you hear a kick, you put one back in, you know. This kick has been processed a little bit here. Maybe it helps to hear the kick and the snare together. It's got a nice fat sound. It's in no way really like the original kick, I wouldn't say. Scott's kick is a little more subdued, but honestly, one of the first things I learned in doing this kind of thing is it's better to find a kick or any sound that sounds good instead of sounding more accurate than what you're trying to do. So if it sounds good, use that one, because honestly, you might go through 100 kicks in doing this, and it might take that long to find one. You might go through 1,000 until you find that kind of perfect kick that fits with the song. So anyways, let's get into this kick here. So this kick is, let's do it no processing here. So this is just a straight up com kit right here. This is the unprocessed sound right now. And if we put on the plugins here, let's hear before, and let's hear after. Now I got a trick question for you all. This is from Dubmaster Con. Which one is louder? Without looking at that meter, which one is louder? No plugs or plugs? To me, that second one sounds way louder. Let's look at this meter here for a second. Plugins on, minus 25. Plugins off, minus 20. We're way hotter without these plugins on than when we turn them on. So let's see what's really going on here. So first thing we got is a UAD oxide tape saturation. And what this really does is on, off, on, off. So my purpose for using this saturation is really to bring down some of the top end of this kick, the peaks of this kick. The saturation just makes it sound to me fatter, but it really allows us to have a louder kick without pushing it into the red as much. And this is really something you want to do when you're getting into to the mastering phases. You want this track to be a little louder, and saturation is a really good way to do that, especially on drums and percussion, I find. So it just fattens up the sound as well. So let's look at EQ. This is with EQ off. So that's a huge difference right there. So my mentality with kick is, I rolled off here, it looks like 30 hertz. I took that right off. There's not a lot of information other than mud to me at that point. So the kick is one of those bass instruments that needs some cleaning up, I think. We got the top end here. Now this really brings out, this is really where the sound changes to me. Let's listen to it off. And that just brings in that top end. I don't know if you can hear that really well, but it just brings in that click, which is, to me, it really cuts through a mix really nicely. This area here, this 330 hertz. It just, to me, there's a lot of information that goes on in this frequency range in the rest of the song. So right here we've got the bubble is going to sit in here, the vocals are going to sit in here, the guitars, the skank, it's all going to touch in this area, and we just don't need that kick drum in there. That's just not where it sits nicely. So I brought that down a little bit. And that's really about this extent of EQ on this kick. Then we got a compressor at the end. And my mentality with compression is I pick two. I use a UAD Apollo, so I picked two that I really wanted to learn to know, and that was an LA2A and an 1176. Now these are like industry standard compressors. I highly recommend learning to use both of these before you get into all the million other plugins that you can get into. It's better to learn one or two really well than to have 100 plugins sitting on your computer that you know nothing about. Learn your stock plugins first before you ever spend a dime on any outside things. This is my opinion. So, But this compressor here, I used a preset actually. I started with a preset at least, which was drum squash. So let's hear that. So this is without. Let's check those levels again. Anytime you apply EQ, what you want to do is really match the before level with the after level. Otherwise, you're not getting an accurate picture of what's really happening here. So off, we've got -23. On. So we've got the exact same output going. Which one's louder? Before, after. To me, that's just, it's so much punchier, so much louder. And that top end, that click in there just gives it, it punches through the mix so much nicer. Let's listen to this track with the kick off, with all the plugins off, sorry. And then I'll turn them on. You can see how it comes through in the track just much better. I don't know. I think it just it cuts through real nice like that. So let's move on to the snare here. That's about it for the kick. So we are running this to a drum bus, which I will get into in a second. But let's finish up with the. So the snare. Let's see what we got here for the snare. Snare also is just it's a stock Kong snare. SD DH verb is a right from Reason as well. I've got almost no processing on this one. I don't think I have anything in the rack. Yeah, I got nothing in the rack. All we've done here is take off quite a bit of low end on this snare. So let's see what that sounds like. So see how it just cracks? It sounds like it cracks more. You got all that low end going on it. And to me, everyone, you ask 10 engineers how to do this, what they're doing, you'll have 10 different answers on EQ. But to me, this sounded much better and punchier and cut through a lot better. Let's hear it in the mix here. It was just too much with that all that low end in there. So you bring that out, and it could probably even take some more of this out. But this is a quick and dirty tutorial. It just so happened that the sound sounded pretty good right out of the box, which is rarely happens, but in this case it did. So we've got a Valhalla vintage verb here, which we have on the snare. This is a great plugin. This is one of the few reverb plugins I've bought that I like. It just sounds good. It's easy to get good sound of it. Let's put it that way. So let's hear that with and without the reverb. So it's pretty dry without it. Kind of actually like the dry sound in the mix, but this mix is not super busy, so I thought putting a little reverb on there is actually a good thing. So. All right, let's move on to the hi-hats here. So this is a plugin called Easy Drummer. And I have a hi-hat. Let's hear. So this is modeled after a 70s Zildjian, probably AAs or whatever, but just a real simple reggae hi-hats. What you kind of want to do here is, and I have this, I programmed this. This is not like played by a drummer or anything, but what you're really doing with hi-hats, it's pretty simple. You want to have a loud hit followed by a quiet hit, and that just gives you a real nice. And if you're not a drummer and you ever try to do that on hi-hats, it is very difficult to do, especially at like a higher tempo like this song. So Jake, our drummer, I respect the play of this song. It's a tough one. But So that's really all. I didn't get into the drum programming of this in much accuracy at all. So that's just a basic reggae hi-hat pattern, and all we really did there is take some low end out of it. It was kind of a boxy sound to this hi-hat. So you take that out, it's a little crisper on the top end, and add a little bit here. If this was my own song, I would definitely process a lot of this a lot more and get into it. But for the sake of this, it's just these are pretty simple, basic sounds here. Crash is straight up out of Reason. This time we used a red drum. And let's see here. Yeah, I think the Crash is the last one here. But yeah, it's just one of these dub lab tight kit in Reason, and just a simple Crash. Let's hear that. Not much to that. Zero processing on that at all. We just kept that one real simple. All right, let's get into the drum bus here. So all these are being sent to a drum bus, which is, I believe, except for the Crash, I guess, but bus 23 here, which we have a U80 precision channel strip here. And this was, again, a preset I started with, at least, that I liked. What I usually do is run down some of the presets until you get something that sounds good. And listening is always better than using visuals. Close your eyes, go through the presets. Whatever sounds good is good. That's how you do this. That's how you decide pretty much everything, is whatever sounds good. So we got to this one, and I'm not sure if I tweaked this or not, but apparently I did. Let's see here. We were boosting some bass here, a couple dB in the mid-range here. Actually, this is low end too. This is bumping up the basics of the kick, the thump of the kick just a little bit, 3 dB. And we're taking down, this is kind of a high shelf here, taking off some top end at 10K, just probably the hats are a little hot, so we that fixes that kind of. So this, let's hear this without. Sorry. So that's without the channel strip. We're going to put it back in. Just fattens up that bass, and listen to the hi-hats too. Off. It's a little bit harsh to me. So that kind of mellows it out a little bit. I don't like real crisp and loud highs. I think that's kind of a beginner mistake, is really focusing on high end when like the mid range is really where the magic is at to me. So anyways, we've got all that. Let's move on here. So we've got a few little percussion elements here. We've got some claps. These claps sound nothing like the original track. I'll show you that. So mine are way more reverby and kind of in the background, but you can record your own. I'm just too lazy to do that. But this is from a Logic stock drum kit, I believe, and there's the Smash kit, and there were some claps in there that sounded pretty okay. And so that's the claps. There's zero processing on there either. These aren't even being. These are being sent to the drum bus as well. So some of that top end is coming off the claps as well from the U80 channel strip here. So. All right, let's get into let's do the piano part here. This is lead piano. So this is what I'm talking about, that big kind of reverby piano sound. So you got a big delays and big air on that. So let's look at that. So this is within Reason here. I've got this as, let's see here. So the sound source is this, where is it? NNXT piano here. So it's just the grand piano. This is probably a preset in Logic, or sorry, in Reason, but what I've probably done is added some delay and some reverb to this. So let's take a listen here. So you could get this with literally probably any keyboard out there. What you want to do is just really add some there's a delay here, this warm echo from this echo unit. There's some saturation on here, some tube saturation I see from this scream here. There's a bit going on here, but honestly, I did not even really add a lot of this. This was a preset right within. If you go to the Reason Sounds, I don't remember which one it is, but it's probably in here. Mostly, I probably tweaked the reverb a little bit and messed with it, but we actually have two reverbs on here, so. But a lot of reverb, different timing, different damping on them, and that's basically you should be able to recreate the sound with most any keyboard and some big reverb and delay on it. So listen how long that tail and delay lasts. That's how you can kind of time a delay. You count how many delays you hear before it like stops. That's like 9 or 10 that you can actually hear. So it goes on the quite a bit, but yeah. So what I've done here is taken again, cut the low end off of this, give it a little boost in the mid range here, kind of the 800K. Just I find that taking a little bit of that the foundation of where it is and boosting it up a little bit. What you're really doing is cutting everything else. Is really what you're doing by doing that. But then we have a compressor on here as well. When I wanted the attack to kind of cut through a little bit and then drop the rest down. And I don't know if you can hear this really well, but that's off. So what I've kind of done is I wanted to let the initial piano hit through and then kind of drop it down just a little bit. I thought it fit a little better in the full mix, sounding like that. And the way you do that is the attack here this is a pretty slow attack, which means it's letting the initial transient through and kind of a medium fast release. This is like a medium release, so it holds it for a little bit and then lets it come back up in level. And I think that this is all done by listening, and to me this is what sounded pleasing in the mix. So turn it off. It's very subtle, but I think the tails of the reverb and stuff are a little more subdued with the compressor on, and that's kind of just what I wanted to do. Is a little bit too much, overwhelming, and instead of going back and tweaking it even more, I thought this was a good way, and it did what I wanted it to do, I think. So I've got a second piano lead here part. This part is just a little bit of a different level, and I wanted it panned differently, so it's the exact same sound, just it looks like I turned off the compressor on this one, but so that's that part. Nope, pretty much the same thing. I'm not going to spend too much time on vocals because these vocals were just kind of done to put some vocals down. They're just a quick scratch edit. But in general, what I do for vocals is I do just I usually do little phrases at a time. So I'll be like, "Hey, so here we are." I'll do that, and then I'll sing that maybe 5 times, and I'll pick the best take. And just go through the whole song like that. So it's a little manual, a little laborsome, but I think it comes out with a nice vocal once you're done, when you can really have a lot of takes. But I'm not the guy. I'm not a singer. I'm not a good singer. I'm not the guy who can do this in one take and make it sound badass. And so I need a lot of takes. But anyways, my vocal stack here. Let's have a quick listen. Hey, so here we are beneath the moon, the right. So same thing, the vocals got a lot of air on it, a lot of reverb, a lot of delay, big delay on it. Stick to this a lot for whatever lead is happening. I think it's a sick sound. I think it sounds great. But my chain is always different. I'm always messing around with vocals. This particular one, we've got an EQ on it and probably some compression here with this U8A channel strip. I probably just chose a preset that sounded cool, and this one was vocal start. And Let's hear it before and after with just that.
Hey,
So this is off.
so here we are,
So this is totally raw.
beneath the moon, the rising sun and stars. It's a brand new day.
So that's just the
It's a
channel
brand
strip.
new
So we got a lot of
start
compression going on here, actually.
to greet the world. It's just me and my guitar. When you feel
That
alone,
compressor right there it just balances, evens everything out nicely. And this is probably one of several compressors, I assume, possibly, maybe not. But we got a channel EQ here. I always like to take out a little low end in the vocal. I probably should have done this as well, but we can do it now. This 250 and below, I find for my vocals, I really like to drop that 3 dB, something like that, and then boost the fundamental wherever that is. I think that's somewhere in here with my voice. Let's take a listen.
when you feel afraid, don't hesitate to call my name, 'cause I'll be there.
So yeah, to me, right in there is like kind of the fundamental of the voice. I don't want to, if you get too low,
Be there for you.
so you got some boxiness here. I would probably drop that out even if I was doing my own song. But this is just quick and dirty again, and
I'll be there when you're feeling blue.
I don't want to get too much high end in there. Just a general rule for EQ is do it about half as much as you think you need. Like when you're, especially when you're starting out, you're probably going to be like boosting this 10 dB and thinking, oh, that sounds great, you know. But you really want to be subtle in your moves, and I find that works quite well. De-esser is almost always mandatory for my my voice. Excuse me. This is somewhere in the. This is just again the Logic's factory de-esser male vocal, and this, I find my S's are usually a little more in the 9 to 10K range, but I just threw this on, so got rid of some of those hard S's. Tape delay. Let's see what we got here. Usually I do this as a send, but I don't know. I just wanted to get this done. So let's see what that sounds like.
Breathe and take
So we got a 1 second.
away. So here we are, beneath the moon.
I really like Stick Figure does that a lot, where it's like the last word is is delayed, so it's moon, moon, moon. And I think this gives it. This did this a lot. I'll usually like cut out that last word and put it on a separate track and just delay that. But in this case, I just wanted to get it done, and I think this gives it a nice airiness throughout the whole song. Actually, on the vocal, we got 22% wet, 100% dry because I did not use this as a send. And about 30% feedback was on a quarter note delay, was about what we had here.
So here we are.
Another thing you kind of want to do is take off some of the mud in your delays and reverbs. In this case, you can do it right here. This is like taking, what this is doing, everything below 300 is taken off, and everything above 4400. So that's a lot of the high end. You get just that mid range in there. And let's see what we got going on when there's a delay. So you really hear, I guess in this case you hear it where the empty space is, which is cool. But a lot of times you'll arrange it that way so that it's only there, so the track doesn't get too muddy. But so what big thing that's done a lot is doubling. I think we've done that here.
Breathe and take it in.
So I've just doubled the part, sang it twice differently, and it just thickens up. I like to do that for choruses. It thickens it up, and sometimes you might even do that a couple times. We actually have a couple harmonies here too, so in the chorus. Oh, got some bad pitch correction on there. Again, I just threw that on there, but let's see here.
Take it there.
A couple harmonies.
Take it there.
Let's see what we've done with EQ here. So again, drop some low end off. Looks like I picked out some like problem frequencies here. Some weird like, and this is kind of pinpointing these problem frequencies. Got a compressor doing its thing. I just threw pitch correction on here because I did not do any takes of this. This is kind of like one and done. But one more EQ. I like to sometimes EQ background vocals a little more extreme. This one didn't do much here; just softened it up, off a bunch of low end and some of this mid here, high mids. But and we have vocals panned, one left, one right. I don't really generally pan things 100% hard left or right, which arguably you certainly can do. But for vocals, I tend to keep it somewhat not too far left and right.
Take it down. Breathe and take it in.
It's kind of a nice, fat sound. To me, it sounds nothing like Stick Figure's version either, but I just wanted to throw down some vocals. All right, let's get into the bass here. So I found this bass on a sample pack that I believe, for my own reasons, that Scott owns. And I can safely say this bass is one of the basses that appears on quite a few of his songs. So this bass is unique to me because it has this kind of it doesn't really have a strong attack. If you look at the waveform, it's probably like wah 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 wah. It's almost like a rise and then a fall in the attack and release of it, and I think it sounds super cool with when it's layered with other things. So I'll just play this bass line. So this is gonna be the sub bass basically. So this is from Niche Audio if you ever want to check this out. And let's so let's take a look. So this bass, that's basically the sub bass, the very lowest part of the bass, and we've cut off everything above 98 hertz. So all you're getting is lows here. This is just the deep part of the bass. Now this next track is going to be the same, the exact same bass, but it's been octave up, I believe 1 or 2 octaves here. So let's play that separately. And what we've done is EQ'd this in kind of the opposite manner of the sub bass. So this is taking everything below 55 hertz. Again, I chose that frequency by listening, and to me it's what sounded good when combined with this bass. So let's take a look. So both together. We got a bit of a weird sound there, but I think in this case it works. Now this is where it really gets into why Stick Figure sounds like Stick Figure is with the plucks. So you can do this with like a Tele or any electric guitar really, and you're basically copying the bass line, and because it's on a guitar, you're playing it on a higher octave. In this song, I've taken it 3 levels further and basically copied this exact bass line with 3 other electronic sounds that are all from Reason, I believe. And let's get into those. So this first one is from the Pangea Acoustic Saz pluck. And I've probably messed with these settings, but let's take a look what that sounds like. Now, if you're listening to that, you could probably think, yeah, that sounds a little bit like Stick. Now let's put it with the bass. It's starting to sound pretty fat, and really, if you listen to this on its own, it's much higher. It's got those bass frequencies, but it's higher, you know. Let's take a look at the next pluck. So we've got another Reason sound. We've got a wide guitar mutes, which is I've used on a ton of our tracks, and this one is. Now that's a really classic, kind of like just a simple Tele reggae pluck, just a tacky. And when you mix that with this other pluck, let's see what that sounds like. So really, we've got 4 layers of bass happening right now. Let's listen to all those 4 layers together. I'm just going to take off this last pluck. See how much it fills that in? So that's fat right there. But you take this, and boom, it just, that high end just brings it out so beautifully, I think. Let's take a look at this last pluck here and see what we got. Oh, we still got the bass on. So this is a straight up, like, wood block or whatever kind of sound. This is a wooden string, whatever that is in Europa. And how did we get these? Honestly, just by scrolling through preset after preset after preset until finding something that sounds cool together. That's really what it comes down to doing. So these are all the plucks together. Let's put the bass in. There you have it. That's 5 sounds that make up your bass sound, and it just makes this sound so fat. Let's take off everything but the basically the normal bass here. So this is what it would sound like if you only had a bass guitar. Oop. Now let's bring the rest in. And that is a big secret to stick figure sound right there, is those plucks. And you can use anything. You can use any sound from any keyboard, just something that's real attacky with a nice mellow low end, and you're going to get that fat stick figure bass sound that is kind of his signature, you know. All right, let's do some skank here. We've got a piano skank. So I've, again, I'm layering 2 pianos. Basically, if you find a piano and you just, or any sound really, and you can't get the sound you want, try 2 of them, try 3 of them, try 4 of them. You never know what you're going to find. But layering sounds is a really, I believe, a huge part of stick figure sound. You're taking like a guitar and layering it with some synth sound, and you don't even know what you're hearing, but that's what really stick figure gets creative with, is these electronic sounds mixed with real instruments or just traditional like pianos and stuff. So this skank is a pretty simple one. Let's see what we've got here. Again, we're using Reason. Another huge tool that I believe is amazing for skank piano is Reason's Radical Piano here. You can take a piano sound like this, and just with this one knob, you can really mess it up. I mean, just having that power alone right there is super cool. You can blend like the microphone sounds. You've got EQ on here. It's just, you can really dial in a really specific piano sound. And I believe Stick uses this huge as well, this Radical Piano, for a lot of his skanks. I think it's an amazing tool just to really mess with, and you want to dial in something similar to what you're hearing. This is my first piano I go to. So just because it's so editable, if that's a word. So just a simple 2 chords. I've got a second piano here. So this piano is, I believe, the Korg N5 keyboard that we use for our live show. I think it's like got an old Korg M1 sound in it, and that's really an old school traditional reggae sound. It's like pretty attacky. It's pretty high end, like a lot of top end on it, and I think it cuts really well for a piano skank. I think it sounds really good, and I use it a lot of the production that I do. But I thought this layered with the other piano was a nice combination. This first piano is kind of a little more mellow and mixed with the top end brightness of the second one. I think it's a cool combination. So this is the first one, second one. I'd say that one's actually a little more mellow, and both. So that is piano. Let me see. Do we have any additional processing? So we've got a compressor on here as well. Again, this is probably less processing than I would ever I would use way more on one of my own productions just because I like to really dig deeper with getting fine tuning the sound. But for this, I've got a hard compressor on here. Let's take a So let's turn this off for a sec. So another pretty cool trick that I like to use a lot on the Skank is a really pretty aggressive compressor with a somewhat slow attack here. Again, this is letting that initial transient come through and then bringing the tail end of it down a lot, so you get it like boom, boom. It gets a real nice poppy sound to it, and kind of brings the rest down. And I think it fits really nicely into a mix. And I've done this much more even aggressively than this, where this needle is like buried sometimes, and a lot of producers will say, well, that's maybe not the right way to do, but if it sounds cool, it is cool. And it sounds cool to me. So let's hear that. It's really hard to hear, but that piano just jumps. It just sounds like it's jumping, that real quick pop sound, which is really cool to me for reggae. And I think the compression does that. So let's get into these plucks here. So these are basically just some again, we're using this wide guitar mutes. If this is my own stuff, I'd probably record this and with a telly or something through a deluxe or something like that, and just get a nice plucky sound from that. But this I use software. So, and I think who knows what stick used, but zero processing on these two. I think these are already pretty compressed and tight and sound good in the mix. Let's hear it in the mix. See, it's these little things that really give a song some character and some ear candy that you can, you've got these things panned a little bit off to the left here, and it just really makes a song, fills it in nicely with these little additional things. But all right, we've got a shaker here. So this again, I think the source was Reason. It was just a loop, just a shaker loop, and I think there's pretty much no processing on this either. Again, if this was my own track, I probably would mess with it a little bit more, but this is quick and dirty. We're almost done here. The next thing we've got is these wah strums. So this is the first part of the song where you hear. And this is a really difficult part for me to figure out that I kind of got, I think. But let's have a listen. Let's listen to the original. So, I mean, it's definitely different, but it's, So all I'm doing there, let's listen to this straight in. I think this was plugged directly into my U8A, probably not even through an amp. Whoop. Wow, it sounds terrible. But all I'm really doing is taking a guitar and palm muting the whole thing. I don't know if you can see this, but and just letting a little bit of the tone through. But that gives you that sound. But it's really the processing on here that really kind of makes it shine through. And let's take a look at what that is. So I'm using the stock Logic pedal board here. We've got a wah, which, okay, so I've automated this wah. This was a little bit difficult to figure out, but I did So this wah here is basically automated, and you'll see it move here when we play this. So you could record this with a guitar using a real wah and just do this similar thing. It's just like a slow sweep up and down. And we're sending that into a pretty big reverb here. Turn that reverb off. It's a pretty large sound, which is a short, a bright reverb mixed in a little bit. But just using, again, Logic stock plugins. So I've got an EQ on here as well, which we took off on the low end again, boosted the fundamental a little bit, and brought the whole thing down to sort of match level. So that's the wah, the strums there. What else we got? Finally, we got the guitar skank, which is... So what do you hear? Stick figures... Number one guitar effect is a phaser, I believe. So let's take a look. So this is dry. Again, this is recorded really percussively. I'm almost completely holding down the string, so there's almost no tone coming through. Taking a pick and giving it a pretty aggressive hit on all of the guitar strings, and that's how you get that. You'll hear tone come through a little bit, but you can't even really make out what chord that is, right? But let's look at this pedal board here. So we have a phase tripper, stock Logic, right here again. And another automated wah. And another spring reverb. So pretty simple. I did not compress this at all, which I absolutely should have. It's all over the place, but that shows you that you don't really need compression on absolutely everything. You don't need every tool on everything to get a cool sound. But that pedal board, then we have EQ on here. I just took off some top end, which sounded a little harsh to me. I probably messed with some reverb at some point, which was probably too much, so I took it off. Because there's enough from this pedal board here, but let's hear that in the mix. And Sticks version.
Play. So here we are.
Beneath the moon, the rising sun.
I think it's still a little louder, but that is Breathe, and I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and we'll probably do this again with another song. If you have another tune of ours or something that you'd like us to dig into and share some secrets, I'd be happy to do it. It might take me a year, but I could get to it. So, cheers.